Hey there, welcome. It is so good to have you with me today. We are going to cover some very foundational information when it comes to constitutional iridology, and that is the three foundational constitutions. You're going to learn how to identify them and some basics about them today. So this is information that you can actually take right into your next client session. So I'm just going to ask you when you watch this on the replay to remember to like it, drop a comment, and subscribe to my channel. Those three things help to make these videos so much more visible to so many more people. So I'd appreciate your help with that if you wouldn't mind. Now, I would also love it if you would take just a moment and drop a comment in the chat box to let me know if you have any background in iridology, if you've studied it already. And if you're okay with this, I would love it if you would also drop in the chat box if you already have a college level anatomy and physiology course under your belt. Okay. So Mayan says she's got some training. Fantastic. And you've got the A and P as well. Good, good. Okay, yeah. Okay, good. All right. So we're getting some yeses and things like that. This is good. Thank you for doing that. I like to make sure my attendees can pop in or can use the chat box. That's good. Okay, and Natalie says, I've not studied this methodology. I write my holistic nutrition exam on June 6th. Ooh, good luck with that, Natalie. I hope you do well. Jen studied iridology as a naturopath at naturopathic school. Fantastic. Wonderful. Okay, good, good. So now that we know who we're working with, we've got people who've got some background. This is a good thing. I'm just going to plant this seed. Anybody who's looking for an iridology course right now, you're thinking May 15th, but that was last week. Yes, it was last week. We've got a cohort going and it has just started. They've only had one lesson. I've often had students join as late as after the third lesson. Don't like it to be any later than that because it can be hard to get caught up. But if you're looking for a course, then you want to get going with it and not, wait around, then you probably want to hop in on this one. Let me just type this quickly. I should have had it where I could copy and paste it. Type this into the chat box and double check my spelling because, I'm an iridologist. I am not great at keyboarding. There we go. Oh my goodness. Yeah. There we go. Okay, I think we're good. There we go. So in the chat box, that's where you get a little more information about the course and where you can set up a time to chat with me about the course, right? I think it's important for you to meet your instructor as well. So you get to meet me here today, but we'll see where else we go with this. All right, so what we're doing today is only meant for your education. It's not meant to diagnose or prescribe. And however you want to use this, it's up to you. Whatever results you get, that's on you. It's not on me, right? Just so as you know. So what is iridology? So before we learn those three foundational constitutions, we need to know what iridology is. Iridology is obviously the study of the iris of the eye. Now, in modern iridology, we do much more than that. There's been so much research in the last 45 or so years since I started as an iridologist. Everything I learned back in the early 1980s, out the window. We've added so much information that everything I learned back then pretty much is not accurate. And so now we look at the iris and we look at the pupil shape and we look at the white of the eye. We look at the sclera as well. So much information. And then of course we integrate that with the client's symptoms to ask questions. And what we know about this is the iris is genetic. This is what has been inherited. The sclera is where we've got things going on in the body right now. And the pupil shape teaches us much about the spine and the nerves that come out of the spinal column. So lots of information there. Is that news to any of you? Is some of that already new for you? Are we kind of hitting some key points here already? If we are, drop a comment in the chat box, right? Give me an, oh wow, Natalie's saying, yeah, good. I'm so glad some of this is new. So good. So good. That's why you're here, right? Is to be getting that little peek through the curtain of some stuff that you might not be aware of. Fantastic. So why would you want to learn iridology? Well, you'd want to learn it because when you understand what the inherited potentials are, and when you understand the spinal column and the nervous system involvement, and when you understand where the problems are, and to a certain extent, what kinds of problems there are in the body right now, it helps you to dig deeper with your client to get to the root of the problem more quickly and probably more accurately than a whole battery of lab tests, right? And it helps you then to be able to laser in with the recommendations you want to make. How many of you have nutrition training of some description under your belt already? If you do, give me nutrition in the chat box. Maybe you studied as a nutritionist, maybe you studied it as a part of naturopathy or something else. Many of you do. All right. So I just want to ask you a quick question here. How easy is it for you to create a laser focused program where you can instruct and educate your client to make maybe 2 or 3 specific narrow recommendations that they will actually get results from, that they will see results from in less than 2 weeks? Or in your nutrition training, were you taught to do a complete revamp in one sitting? If you already know how to do a laser focused program, give me laser in the chat box. If you were taught to do everything they'll ever need to know for the rest of their life protocol, give me program in the chat box. That'll just help me to know what direction we're going here. Program. I find program is the way most people were taught to do nutrition. How's it working for you? Do you find your clients can be really compliant with that? Can they make all the changes you've recommended? Or do they get frustrated and overwhelmed? Yeah. All right. So why would we want to do this? So you can assess your clients more quickly and accurately, get it done while you're with your client. So you can stop working unpaid overtime developing client programs. Sharon says, can't even make it work for myself. Sharon, that is so honest. Thank you for that. And Chetta says, no need to do baby steps. Yes, we do. We do. But we're not taught to do that in school, are we? And so with iridology, we can stop overwhelming our clients with over-the-top, undoable programs. And we can create programs that will increase client compliance, success, and long-term retention. And that's what we need. Our clients need us to walk with them step by step as they create new lifestyles, new eating programs, new habits. They need someone who will be with them for the long haul, right? We can, with iridology, we can create faster and deeper rapport with our clients, like really fast. We can see more clients in less time and with spending less energy and do amazing work for them. And you can probably increase your income without raising your fees because you're seeing more clients and you're working fewer hours. How does that all sound? Does that sound like good reasons to learn iridology? Give me an oh yeah in the chat box if that is. Sharon's giving me a heart. Yay, love that. Yeah, let me know if that sounds like it's where you want to go. Where you want, okay. All right, yeah, fantastic. Fantastic. So my name is Judith Cobb. And, you know, we're going to get into those eyes in just a minute, but I just want to put it out there that when you are looking for an iridology instructor, I think you need to interview them. I think you need to interview them as if you are hiring them. Seriously. And I think they should do the same with you. I really don't like programs where you just sign up online and you enroll in the program because you don't know if the program's a good fit. You don't know if you like the instructor. The instructor doesn't know if she can work with you. And so I really encourage my students As a matter of fact, it's a requirement. We have to have a chat before you can enroll. So just saying, I started as a holistic practitioner in 1979. You can do the math. And I've been studying ever since. I'm the wife of one, the mom of 7, grandma of 10. And I got into holistic healing because I had health problems. And the doctors did not seem to care. Like way back when I was 20, the doctors did not seem to care. And golly gee, I knew there had to be some answers somewhere. I was blessed to meet a young man who knew some iridology, he knew some herbology, he knew a bit about nutrition. His mom knew even more. And didn't we just fall in love? Me and the guy, and we got married. Yep, he's my hubby of 45 years this summer. And I've taken what he started me with. We laugh about it now because I took that and I have just run with it, and I've left him back there in the dust. And that's okay, because it's not everybody's calling, right? Not everybody's calling to be a holistic practitioner. And so, but in that training, in my early days of learning this, I studied iridology and I studied the Jensen style. Some of you may be familiar with Bernard Jensen. Love the man. I would have loved to have studied with him face to face. I think that would have been so great. But what we know now is that while he did a lot of good for a lot of people, there's been so much more research that a lot of what he taught, we now know is incorrect. We've built on that. We've gone way beyond that. And so that's where we're going today with the concept of constitution and the 3 basic pigments. I mean, I was taught back then, and this is the Jensen thing, eye color will change. You can fast, cleanse, and detox pigments out of the eye. You can change the way the fibers are sitting in the eye. How many of you've heard these things, right? That we can change your eye color. We could do all these crazy things and use the eyes to gauge the progress. And when in reality, I don't care if the eyes change or not. I want my client to feel better. We can gauge their progress by, are they getting results? Are they feeling better? Are their symptoms resolving? Right? Do you agree with me on that? If you do, give me an I agree in the chat box. So when I was getting frustrated with what I learned from the Jensen style of iridology, I was just about ready to quit doing iridology because it wasn't working. I was cleansing clients, their eyes weren't changing color. I wasn't moving fiber around. We weren't getting rid of lacunae. And Chetta says, I want to feel better and change my color. Colored contacts, speak to your optometrist for that one. And so, so as I was getting frustrated and I was ready to walk away from iridology completely, because my clients were not getting the results that I was told they would get. I was not getting the results I was told I would get, right? I came across constitutional iridology. Nothing happens by happenstance. I don't believe in coincidences. I believe everything happens for a reason. And so I studied constitutional with Bill Caradonna, who was one of the early people who brought constitutional to North America. And as I studied that, I realized that, oh, wow, this is the best thing since sliced bread. Seriously, the best thing. And then I had to figure out, how do I integrate that into my client work so that my client work moves smoothly? I didn't want to see my client take photos of their eyes and then take hours of my own time to write reports to bring back to the client at a later time. And that's actually how I started doing it when I started doing this. But I soon realized that if I was going to spend 2 or 3 or 4 hours writing a report for every 1 hour I was with my client, this was not going to be a good business model. Do you agree with me? Not a good business model. And so with that, I did the studying and I figured out how to integrate this. So Maya said my iris changed. I took before and after pics and saw less lacunas, but I thought the iris doesn't change. I would love to see those, and I would love to know what the conditions were, Maya, because, and the reason I say that is we understand that, for example, if you're doing a lot of yoga, certain kinds of yoga, you can, send them to me in an email, Mayan. I'd like to see them. Certain kinds of yoga will change the size of the pupil, and that is very dynamic, and that can make it look like the lacunae are disappearing. So that's one thing. And so that would be a good thing to watch for. The other thing to watch for with photos is, are you using the exact same camera, the exact same settings, the exact same lighting? Because those things, when they are different, will also change the appearance of the eye, of the fiber structure of the eye, and that can make the images look very different from one to the next. I can really, if I want to, I can use the I can use one camera, change a setting, and I can make the eyes look entirely different, which of course I don't want to. I want pure science here. So yeah, mine, you've got, I think you've got my email address. So shoot those to me as an attachment, and let's see what we see there. And I can look at them later on, and just, I'm curious about that. I'm very curious. All right, because I have never seen eyes change ever, except to accumulate pigment. I've seen sclerae change because that's very dynamic, but I've never seen the iris itself change. So I'd be interested to see your photos. All right. Iridology will help you do faster assessments. The eyes can guide the questions you should be asking, be more accurate in your assessment, build better and faster rapport. Your clients really feel heard when you do iridology in a proper way, in a good way. And it eliminates the need for an intake form. Now, with that, you will always need a release form, that informed consent form. Always, always, always. I don't care if you're working with your mother, your aunt, your best friend, you have everybody sign an informed consent form so they know what your training is and what you can and can't do. But I don't give my clients an intake questionnaire anymore. That just is a waste of time. I get what I need from talking with them. I've never had a client say, stop asking me questions. Stop talking to me. Just look in my eyes and tell me what's wrong. Never. I am one of 10 level 3 IPA certified iridology instructors in the world. I was one of the first 3 back when they introduced that level about 3 years ago. Over the years that I've been in the business, since the early 1980s, like 79, 1980, I've studied iridology under 8 different teachers, 3 different styles. And I have designed and taught books on, or courses and books on herbs in pregnancy and herbs and nutrition for children and general herbology things and iridology textbooks. Now, the iridology textbook is currently only available to my students. All right. I've taught prenatal classes. I was a certified prenatal educator, just all kinds of stuff. I like to have variety in my work. I am also a trained nutrition professional associated with these 2 Canadian organizations and a master herbalist. And I incorporate all of that, plus my umpteen years of experience and life, into everything I do with my clients and with my teaching. So when we talk about doing iridology, we do need to have a conversation with the client. The eyes are not a crystal ball. The eyes teach us what questions to ask. They don't give us the answers. They teach us where to look for issues, how things develop, how things get connected. So I need to know their history. I need to know surgeries. I need to know medical diagnoses they've had. I need to know medications. I like to see lab tests. I need to know what the family history is, going back 3 or 4 generations if they know it. I need to know what the diet and the lifestyle are like. It's important to remember as we look at eyes that the eyes teach us what the genetic predispositions are when we're looking at the irides. They don't give us a guarantee of a problem. Okay, so that's important. You can earn the right to have a problem and have no genetic predisposition to it. Does that make sense to you? If you have a soda pop and cookie diet, and that's all you're going to eat, even though you may have been blessed with genetically a strong body, do you think you could work yourself into some problems? If you do, give me cookie in the chat box. Could you create problems if your diet was insufficient for your needs? Yeah. Thank you, Solas. Appreciate that. Yeah. Oh, Sharon gave me a cookie emoji. So good. I envy people who are quick on the draw with those emojis. Good job. Yeah, we can earn those problems. So the eyes don't tell us everything, but they certainly point us in the right direction of things. So let's do the first one, lymphatic. This is the lymphatic iris. If you've got questions as we're going, drop them in the chat box and I'll try to work them into the conversation here today. Okay. So when we look at the eyes in constitutional iridology, using an iris map is one of the last steps we do. It's definitely not the first, because when we are using an iris map, we are subdividing the body into little tiny pieces, and that's not constitution. Right? That is much more of a slice and dice allopathic approach. And so we want to be looking at the person as a whole initially, and that's going to give us a lot of information. So we will use a map, but it's going to be much later on. Sometimes I don't even get to a map in a first appointment with a client. This is going to save a lot of time, but it's also going to give us a much deeper insight into our client overall. When we're looking at a lymphatic iris, the eye will have some blue. It may not be all blue, but the iris will at least have some blue, and it will have some fibers visible. So when we're looking at this eye and we're seeing these threads in the eye, we call these fibers. Okay? It's not really the correct name, but we're all lazy and that's what we call it. Anyways, we might have other colors on top like we do in this eye. We see some other little bits of color. Sometimes there's a big wash of other color over top. Common health concern here would include things like, and this is for all people with lymphatic irides, we would look for concerns that are coming around the mucous membranes, body tissue acid levels, that's not the same as digestive acid, and the lymphatic system. And so with this, we are going to then look at the eye, find out what the client wants our help with, and we are going to then ask appropriate questions. One of my favorite questions for lymphatic iris, if it's appropriate, if I'm hearing symptoms that tie in, is there a family history, personal or family history of asthma, allergies, arthritis, eczema, psoriasis, or kidney issues? Those are all high acid problems. I'm not looking at tiny details yet. I'm not looking at things like these little patches of color. I'm not looking at fibers that are running off sideways. I'm not looking at gaps and little things that are in the eyes like this. I'm just looking at the eye overall. What is the color? What is the underlay of the color? What is the primary color in this eye? Now, that doesn't mean if they have a lung issue that I'm only going to look at the lung zone of the iris, because then I need to look at other things that would impact the lung. So if this client came in with a lung problem, I would need to look at some other areas of the eye as well when I start the mapping. I'm going to need to ask some appropriate questions here as well. I'd also look at areas of the sclera that correlate to the lung issues or to the lung areas. And I would look at the pupil shape to see if it has any flattenings or any areas where it's misshapen that would correlate as well. But again, all those markers are not lymphatic specific. They are person specific, but not lymphatic specific. This is another lymphatic iris. Do you see how different this is from the first one we looked at? The first one was the beautiful baby blue eyes, you know. This one, however, is more of a steel gray blue underneath everything. So steel gray blue still counts. We can see we've got all of this other yellowish stuff and some brown stuff, and we've even got a big pigment here, but it still is a lymphatic eye. The base color is still a shade of some kind of blue, and that's what we're looking for. Do you know anyone who you think has lymphatic irides? If you do, give me lymphatic in the chat box. Maybe it's yourself, maybe it's a friend, maybe it's a family member. Do you know anyone who's got that basic blue underlay? Lots of you do? Fantastic. So people who have the lymphatic constitution are a little more predisposed to thyroid issues, even when there are no indicators of thyroid in the thyroid area of the iris. Now, that would be because thyroid and parathyroid imbalances can lead to calcium assimilation issues. All right. And if our person is being a lymphatic who tends to run too acidic, that will also compromise their ability to assimilate calcium, but that's also going to be play with the thyroid and parathyroid. The thyroid and parathyroid need minerals. If we don't have enough acid, let me rephrase that. If we don't have our acid in balance, we don't assimilate minerals properly. If we have too much acid in the system, we burn out the minerals trying to balance the acid. All right, does that make sense? So we need to ask, sometimes we need to ask our lymphatic people about thyroid health and about family history of thyroid. So our goal here isn't to use iridology like some kind of a crystal ball. This is not a party game of guess what's wrong with me. Some people come to the office and they say, just tell me what's wrong. Look in my eyes and tell me what's wrong. And I won't. I absolutely won't. That's not what this is all about. Constitutional iridology is about understanding the constitution of the person. That should be no surprise. So we can understand where they are less resilient and more resilient. So we can understand why their health is the way it is and guide them to better overall health. Along the way, the symptoms will subside, but the goal isn't just symptom mitigation. The goal is health improvement. If you want to mitigate symptoms, you can take a drug, right? But if we're looking for health, we want to go deeper than symptoms. The symptoms will go away as we bring the health around, right? So the goal here is root cause remediation to get to better health, ultimately relieve the symptoms. Does that make sense? That we're looking at root causes here? If that makes sense, give me root. Solis says yes. Love it, Solis. You're so quick on the draw. Love that. Thank you, Sharon. Yeah. Look at the root. Deal with the root. So that's the tip of the iceberg introduction to the first constitution of the three we're doing. So your lymphatic irides tend to be people who their bodies run a little too acidic. Again, that's not the same as stomach acid. And as we understand that, we can come in and reshape the diet and use appropriate supplements and appropriate lifestyle changes to help this person learn how to control their acid levels. And then we can watch the symptoms start to soften and disappear. And then we can see what's left that we need to work on. Okay. Chata says root causes should always be the goal. Absolutely. And Chata, to add to that, sometimes we do have to do something that will mitigate a symptom temporarily, right? Buy us time to do the deep work. If someone is in significant pain, we can't say, well, just suffer while we do the deep work. That's not going to work, right? But if we can say, let me offer you this to help deal with the pain, and then let's stay focused on doing the work that is going to help get rid of the pain rather than just hide the pain. Right? And that's what we want to do, is get to the base, the real root of this thing. This is what one of my grads from the course said. This is Sharon Bimrose. She's a naturopath in Australia. I'd already taken iridology as a part of my studies as a naturopath. However, Judith's course, Dynamic Iridology, surpassed my previous training in structure, content delivery, documentation, and support. Iridology has certainly reduced the time required for prioritizing a treatment plan. Iridology, without a doubt, has been a huge game changer to my practice. Sharon started out seeing clients, getting their eye photos, doing exactly what I used to do, spending hours writing the report, and then she would email it to the client. The amount of detail you have to put into that kind of a report to email it to the client so the client will understand it is incredible. And it was eating up time and taking away time that she could be seeing other clients. We helped her to get that organized and get it straightened around so she could do the assessment when she was with the client, give them the information they needed to get moving, and then help the client understand this is a step-by-step process. And we're going to be meeting once a month or once every however often she was to keep shaping and fine-tuning your program till we get to where you're going to be. As who was it earlier on who said baby steps? Somebody in here commented baby steps. And that's exactly what we do with this. That was Chata again. Yeah, Great insight there. Hematogenic. This is the true brown eye, the absolute true brown eye. A lot of people think they've got brown eyes, but they don't really. So we're going to do the brown eye next. Then we'll do the one that comes in between in a minute. So when we have a true hematogenic eye, we might have gold in here as well. But what we don't have is visible fibers. Remember on those blue eyes, we could see all the threads radiating outwards. On a true brown eye, under magnification, you will not see the fibers. There's enough brown pigment on the surface of that iris that it's masking everything. It's hiding everything. So we're not going to see any blue or any green in the body of the iris. These people, their weakest link tends to be blood and liver. That's their inherited potential, that if there's going to be a major challenge, it will almost always circle around blood or liver. And so as we look at this, oh my, look at this one. This is a very different brown eye. We need to recognize that sometimes we can see structure. Sometimes there will be a bit of fiber in a structure like this, or like these, or like this. With this, we're actually not looking at the surface of the eye. This opening is the surface of the eye, literally has a separation in that top layer of fiber, and we're looking at fibers that are down a layer. So that doesn't count when we're looking for fibers here to assess the type of eye that we're looking at. So this is your quintessential hematogenic iris. And so with this, we're thinking things like spleen, liver, heart and circulation, tendency towards varicose veins. These people tend to be a little more on the alkaline side, which can be a problem because it means they might not have enough acid to get their minerals. So where our lymphatic people had so much acid typically that they burned through their minerals trying to neutralize the acid, our hematogenic people often don't have enough acid to assimilate the minerals. And if they don't have minerals, just like our lymphatic people, they're going to have some kind of an endocrine or a metabolism imbalance. So depending on what symptoms or imbalances your client wants help with, the questions that you might ask based on iridology when we're talking about hematogenic could be, is there a personal or family history of blood imbalances? Is there a personal or family history of allergies or of hormonal issues or of blood lipid imbalances? What about weight issues? Now, you wouldn't ask all those questions to an individual. You're going to cherry pick the questions that relate to the client's issues and their eyes. You want the questions to be the linking factor between the issues and the eyes. Do you know someone who's got brown eyes, got hematogenic eyes? If you do, give me brown is beautiful in the chat box. Do you know someone who's got brown eyes? So as you look at something like this, if someone has allergies, you're going to be able to ascertain that there's probably a strong liver component. And then from there, you can work with diet and supplements to help balance out that liver. All of these other markings we see, all of these other lines, these are all things that you learn about in the dynamic iridology course. There's so much information in these eyes. A lot of people who've studied iridology a little bit will say, oh, brown eyes are so hard to read. And they aren't. Brown eyes are actually very easy to assess when you know what you're looking for, when you know how to look at them. The only exception is some people have eyes where the irid has so much pigment in it that the irid almost looks black. Those ones can be a little tough to assess. Oh, so many of you know someone who has beautiful hematogenic eyes. Another one of my students, Michelle Davies, she is a certified natural practitioner, registered nutritional consultant here in Canada. I've studied iridology with David J. Pesic, who actually just passed away recently. And she got his level 1, 2, and 3 certificates, iridology in professional practice with Darko Purse, and she became an RNCP as well. This is the most amazing iridology course I've taken. Judith's course is top on my list. Judith's iridology course is very complete as it contains the most accurate iridology, including sclerology, and most importantly, how to put it all together and to make a proper assessment. I feel very confident in my nutritional practice now. Really love that. We really work to help the students not just be able to assess an eye, but put together protocols and understand what they're seeing, not just identify markings, because anybody can identify markings, but how do the markings work together? What questions do they want you to ask? What information are they giving you about this person's tendencies? Many of my students rather have studied elsewhere before they get to me, and the training they've already had often left them feeling not very confident. And for whatever reason, whether it was the content of the course or how they were mentored with it, my course turns that around for them. It teaches iridology, and it teaches how to use iridology to create wellness programs, how to integrate iridology into your work. And that is so important. Iridology is not a standalone. You're never going to be able to be successful learning iridology and not knowing nutrition or herbology. Iridology can tell us where to look for problems, and we can ask the right questions, and we can figure out what the problems are and the order that we need to address things in to help resolve these issues and bring the body into balance. But if you can't give recommendations that will support your findings, who cares? That might sound harsh, but who cares? When people go to an iridologist, they don't want to know just what's wrong with them. They want to understand why it's wrong and what can they do to create better health for themselves. So you need tools that you can use to coach your clients to better health as well, right? Does that make sense? It's like taking your car to a mechanic who says, I can diagnose the problem, but I can't fix it. You have to take it to Jim down the street. He's the fixer. He can't diagnose, but he can fix. He can't assess, but he can fix, right? So you need both sides of this story. The biliary iris. This is the type of iris that some iridologists would say shows the desperate need for long-term, very deep systemic cleansing. That's what I was originally taught. That if we had an eye that had all this color in it and we could see fibers here, that meant this person was really toxic and we needed to cleanse them. Fast them, cleanse them, you name it. We needed to get in there and clean things out. For the first 10 years of my practice, that's exactly what I did. And it absolutely did not work. My clients got results. They felt better. They were feeling so much better, but their eyes didn't change. And that was disappointing for them and for me. This is also the constitution that trips most iridologists up, because if you don't have good lighting and good magnification, it can look like it's hematogenic. So how do we know it's biliary? Well, first off, there's no blue visible. You remember the lymphatic had blue and fibers. So we're not seeing any blue, so we know it's not lymphatic. You'll remember hematogenic had no blue, but we also could not see fibers. Well, in this eye, we have no blue, but we do see fibers. So when we've got no blue and yes, fibers, that is our biliary iris. There might be golden highlights in here. So do you know someone that you think has biliary eyes? If you do, give me biliary in the chat box. You might call them hazel, but again, they won't have any blue in them. Sharon knows someone who's biliary? Fantastic. Fantastic. I was teaching a course at one of the local health food stores a few weeks ago, and I took my camera just because I thought it would be fun. And as the students were looking at each other's eyes and practicing exactly what I'm teaching you here, they said, well, I think my eyes are hematogenic. And I said, let's just take a picture and see. So when we took pictures of two of the students and looked at them just on the screen on the back of my camera, it was obvious they had biliary eyes. Now, even just magnifying it by that much, just that little bit, and giving it some good direct lighting, we could see they were not hematogenic eyes. So when we are looking at at biliary eyes, what do you think is the root cause of their issues? What is the weak link for these people? When we see that word biliary, bile and liver. Yeah, we're looking at bile and liver. Yeah, liver, absolutely. And of course, digestion is going to be roped in with that as well, right? So questions to ask your biliary constitution people are going to circle around personal and family history of digestion, including stomach issues of all kinds, liver, which includes, we need to be thinking outside the box. We all think of liver detoxifies, right? It cleans the blood. But think about liver in terms of its immune functions, of its role in balancing the lipids, of its role in balancing blood sugars, how it works with the triglycerides, how it mitigates allergies for us, right? Liver is a very busy organ. And by saying it cleans the blood, we're just giving it the short end of the stick, so to speak. So we want to be listening for these clues when we're working with our clients about all of the different liver functions. Gallbladder is often involved with this too. And of course, often that will take the focus of gallstones, not always, but often it will. Also think about pancreas with the biliary. Liver and pancreas have to work together for so many basic functions. We all think of blood sugars when we think of pancreas, right? We also need to think about basic carbohydrate digestion when we're talking about pancreas. How are you doing so far? You getting something out of this that you can use on a basic level with your next client? I'm curious here. What has been the thing that you learned here where you went, wow, what's your biggest takeaway? What's your biggest takeaway so far? So if you've loved dipping your toes in, and this is just a tiny, tiny piece of the second module in the dynamic iridology course, tiny piece. Again, we've got the course that started on May 15th and would love to chat with you about it. Oh, I did not update this slide. February 27th, that's way long ago. You can't register for that one anymore. It's the May 15th that we're still accepting registrations for. Natalie says the eyes are very interesting. Yes, they really are. If you are a health professional, that means you've got an anatomy and physiology course under your belt already. Then you've got the basic requirement that I have to join in with the dynamic iridology assessment system course. I will only take students who have proof of that anatomy and physiology because we go deep. You need to understand how the organs work, how they work together, how they sometimes fight between themselves in order to do iridology well. So I'm inviting you to grab that link that I posted way, way back at the beginning. If you've got the anatomy and physiology under your belt and you would like to learn more about the course and you're seriously looking for a course, then I invite you, grab this link. I'm going to put it back in the chat box. There we go. Get in there and schedule a time to chat with me. It's not a high-pitched sales call. It's really all about finding out what your goals are, making sure you've got the A&P, and then talking about the course and how this can help you get to where you want to go. All right. This is one of my other grads, and I've had many grads. These are just a few of them. Karen Choate, she's just got her naturopathic certification a couple of years ago. I returned from a regenerative detox course where iridology is implemented. I spread the word about what a wonderful teacher you are. Most people I talked with did not have anywhere near the same experience with their iridology education, no support. They had unanswered questions and a lot of confusion. Mostly they finished their classes not knowing how to implement what they had learned. I feel so absolutely blessed to have been taught by you. I feel totally supported, even as I still have graduated 5 years ago now. I don't think there's anyone out there practicing, educating, and teaching iridology like you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. I'm eternally grateful for your never-ending patience and support. And metabolic coach says, can I please see blue eyes? My meeting went over and I had to join late. Metabolic coach, you will be receiving the replay by email tomorrow. Okay. So you can catch up all you want. Just reminding you, for those of you who want the replay, remember, if it doesn't land in your inbox about 24 hours from now, check your junk, spam, promo, and all mail folders. I don't know why they go there, but sometimes they do. I asked Karen after that last post, I asked her, well, how has constitutional iridology helped you in your business? And she said, iridology has helped me to understand the relationships between different organs and organ systems more in depth. Iridology also gives me an advantage of seeing the potential for different genetic traits and qualities that may be underlying. By observing the constitution, for example, you can extrapolate how the person's body will likely respond to applications of healing methods. Therefore, it has helped me to expand my knowledge and increased efficiency at providing more precise recommendations for health-oriented options. Love that. So we need to talk. If you are looking for a way to assess your clients more quickly and accurately, to stop working unpaid overtime developing client programs, if you want to stop overwhelming your clients with those over-the-top, undoable programs that we were all taught to do in nutrition school, if you want to create programs that will increase client compliance, their success, and foster a long-term relationship with you, if you want to create faster and deeper rapport with your clients, if you want to see more clients in less time and less energy, you want to increase your income without raising your fees, then you want to learn iridology at a level, professional level with full support. And you want to also chat with me. So Metabolic Coach says, why not DNA or Dutch test or go mapping? Okay, so DNA and Dutch test are very expensive. And many clients don't want to spend $500 or $600 or even $200 US for a bunch of testing. Same with GI mapping. GI mapping, it can be very expensive to run those tests. And not all nutritionists and herbalists have access to those tests. Iridology is something that anybody who's got the anatomy and physiology under their belt can use and can do quite easily when they've got the training. And in addition to that, it's really easy to dovetail this and to add deeper understanding to lab tests that your clients bring in. For those of us who are in Canada, lab tests, most of our lab tests are covered by our socialized medicine. So clients are willing to go to their doctors, get lab tests, and when they bring those results back to you and you couple it with what you see in the eyes and with the questions you ask, you can do some really good work with them and get to the root of things. Really, the DNA and the Dutch test, a lot of that is the expense. And also the waiting for results. You run the test, and how long does it take to get the results? A week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, maybe 4 weeks, depending on who you're doing it through. With iridology, you can do the assessment right now and be developing your protocol on the spot. Now, I think that with GI mapping and Dutch test, if you want to do that, I think you will find that it probably integrates very well with iridology. You get the GI mapping, which is your biome kind of thing, what's going on in the gut. Then you can look at the eyes and ask the right questions and get a better feel for how much of this is actually more of a genetic predisposition for this person to have this kind of an imbalance. We see indications that suggest a risk of leaky gut in the eyes all the time. And it's because it's genetic, it doesn't go away, right? And so, okay, that's fair. Dr. Leather here in Coombs did it here, but people thought it was a novelty. How do I address this? I can do blood tests in Canada. It's like a backup. This is where one of the things that needs to happen is education. And this is where getting a professional grade camera, eventually, like you don't get that when you start the course. You wait until you've graduated from the course, maybe even until you're certified, and you get a professional camera, you've got one. Then you want to shoot those photos, put them up on a computer screen, and pick the markers that teach your client about what you want to teach them about, right? Tunde says, would certified holistic nutritionists qualify for the course? Absolutely. You've done an A&P course, right? Tunde, you've done, as a part of your CHNP, you had to do an A&P course. That will do it. I'm a sports nutritionist and going for more detail. Absolutely. Oh yeah, absolutely. Tunde, that would be the thing that we need to talk about then, is get you into an A&P course. And so it's just like a 6-credit university course. The Canadian School of Natural Nutrition has one, A&P, Anatomy and Physiology. Okay. All right. So Tunde, I'm going to make a note here to reach out to you later with the A&P link, the Anatomy and Physiology link, so you can get that course and get it under your belt. Okay. All right. So again, the course has started on May 15th. The first couple of lessons are super easy to get caught up on. Everything is recorded. The live classes are recorded for playback, and everything else is also recorded. There's a lot of information on the student site for my students to help them get caught up and to help them get really good at what they're doing. And again, grab that link that we posted just a few comments ago. I love the chat going on here, folks. I really do. This is so good to see all of this. Giving you that link again. Let's get going here. Metabolic says alive is different. Yeah, I have never understood how people can work with someone's health and not understand the human body, not actually have an A&P course under their belt. So we talk about tuition when we have the phone call. If you're qualified, if it looks like you've got the A&P and you're ready to roll, that's when we talk about tuition. All right. And metabolic coach, if that's what you are under on when you, in your emails, if you're under metabolic coach, I can also send you the A&P link as well. All right. So don't need likely. Yes, I am. Okay. Fair enough. All right. So with that, again, if you've got the anatomy and physiology under your belt and you're looking for an iridology course that is going to take you so much deeper than just identifying markings, but it's going to take you into the clinical aspects of creating protocols, teaching you how to think through an iris, not giving you a cookie cutter approach, but think through the iris, then this is the course we want to talk about for you. Right? So with that, my friends, watch for the replay in your email tomorrow. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. And let's see what we can do about helping you to become a certified iridologist. Metabolic says, I've studied this before and I have a good chart somewhere that I laminated. You'll find constitutional charts are very different from most of the charts that are out there. So it'll be exciting for you to do a comparison of what you've already learned to constitutional to see if they're all the same. All right. With that, my friends, I am on a hard stop. I go into teaching another class in 7 minutes. So with that, my friends, you are most welcome. It's been a pleasure having you. Thank you for all of the interaction in the chat box. That was fantastic. And I look forward to speaking with you soon. Take good care and bye for now.